ES Audio.
Where is your company going to be 10 years after it was founded? How about valued at $1.75 billion?
I can't complain. Overnight success takes 10 years. It was hard to believe back then. For others, I of course believed in it.
Timo Boldt is the CEO and founder of Gousto, the company that disrupted the food industry in 2012 by sending boxes and recipes for what to do with what's inside them to people's homes. The subscription meal kit industry is globally worth around $20 billion today, and Timo was there right at the start.
In the early days, this was me writing recipes myself, going to the market and then hand delivering to customers, giving customers my personal phone number so that they called me until like 1 a.m. at night, and it was crazy.
I'm David Marsden from the Evening Standard. Now, this show is about how to be a CEO, and there are no quick ways. But what about appearing on Dragon's Den, I hear you ask? Well, Timo did that with Gousto and didn't get any money. So when I meet him, I kind of want to know, what happened there? How the world has changed in 10 years, Timo. When you were trying to explain what a food box was to a group of people who didn't understand what the concept was about, Duncan Bannantyne said to you, you probably remember this, "I don't see any way you'll ever make any money." Now, your company was just valued at $1.75 billion. A lot's happened in 10 years, hasn't it, Timo?
I can't complain. Overnight success takes 10 years. It was hard to believe back then. For others, I of course believed in it, but the world has changed so much since then. I launched 10 years ago. Dragon's Den was a huge milestone, hugely fun, 40 cameras. It took 2 hours of recording, 40 cameras. You know that every time you're sweating, you're red-faced. That's what they will edit, and show. It's a quite daunting experience, but no, really glad. And Duncan became a customer subsequently. So I'm really proud that he became a customer, yes.
He did say in the episode, "I'm going to become a customer, but I'm not giving you any money."
And that was I'm sure he regrets it.
You'd got him up to do the demonstration. You had Duncan creating a Gousto box right there in front of you. But when you said that, the two of you seemed quite nervous about asking, does anybody want to make one of these?
Well, so the challenge was the electricity didn't work inside the den. And so we had to pre-boil everything and kind of fake it on camera, pretending we're cooking. But obviously the dragons weren't briefed on this, so we had no clue if this would kind of look horrible on TV and, it might taste like rubbish. And so it was quite improvised after 8 hours of waiting in the BBC studio in Manchester to be on stage, and then suddenly being told, "Oh, sorry, the cooking doesn't work, by the way. Like, can you just quickly boil the potatoes in the corner before you go in?" So, okay.
So I guess that was probably a lot of people's first introduction to your company. Did that maybe highlight some of the issues you might be going to face, trying to persuade people this is a good way to use recipes to cook a subscription box? Did you struggle at all to get that idea across?
Yes, David. That's the short answer. It was hugely difficult because 10 years ago, to convince anyone to buy food online was quite novel and weird, and, shelf life issues, and it wasn't so common. Now, obviously, the world has shifted. And I guess what we saw back then was 40% of food is wasted in the UK. And if food waste was a country, it would be the third largest country after the US and China in terms of CO2 emissions. And so we managed to reduce it by 94% by taking it out of the supply chain and by giving you exactly what you need. But back then, articulating that concisely felt really difficult because, just so novel back then.
Was there any kind of really effective way of getting that message out? What was the best bit of marketing you could do?
Well, give customers a box, give investors a box. I actually back then sent food boxes to venture capitalist funds in Berlin, in Stockholm. We were looking for sustainability-focused, mission-driven investors. And so we tried to ship these boxes across the UK so that people could actually feel the food, see the product, get excited. And so we developed a lot of recipes that didn't require any refrigerated items. So perfect for vegan recipes.
Was there a lot of having to do pitching to potential investors? I mean, and how did you was there a secret to it, or did you have to just kind of make it up as you go along?
I think Rocky Balboa very eloquently said it in one of his Rocky movies. And he says, winning is not about how hard you can punch. It's about how hard you can be punched in the face and not fall down. And I mean, it sounds horrible, but the key lesson for me, and still is it's all about resilience and being okay with rejection and not giving up. If 100 people say no, of course you have to be open to feedback and you have to refine what you're doing. But maybe you just need 110 people. And I always tell the story, but I sent so many people a Christmas card asking for them to mentor me. This was 10 years ago. One of them was Gore. And since then I had, 3 dinners with Gore and complete serendipity. But no one ever says, Timo, who are the other 50 people you sent a Christmas card to who haven't responded? Oh, that's a shame. You wasted so much money and stampage and so on. The only thing that matters is kind of the one person that loves you, loves the idea, and backs you. And so, yeah.
The cost of 50 Christmas cards is definitely worth dinner with Al Gore, isn't it? Even just one. And
I wholeheartedly agree.
So was there a lot of, I guess, cold calling? Was it a big hustle to try and get stuff? How much work went into getting money or getting marketing as much as getting the product right?
Yeah, I mean, we had an amazing team, and I'm so proud that some of them are still working with us. We actually have, Aiden, Ricardo, employees who joined as interns in the first year, like literally when we had 5 customers. They're absolutely incredible. They're still in the business and so blessed, the team we had. And then there was kind of, as you said, like the pitching, the investor side. And yeah, it's all about the hustle, meeting as many people as possible. I remember boarding trains to go to Paris and just meet as many people everywhere. And through the process, figure out what type of capital is right. Where's the chemistry? Are they buying into purpose, mission, values of what we're trying to achieve? Or are they just trying to make a profit in 2 years and flip it? And so we really wanted somebody who, sticks with us for the long term.
Yeah, and I guess that works with the team that you're working with as well. That you talked about the people who've been there since almost day one. This must have been a great journey for you guys. Has it felt like an adventure, or has it felt like trauma? I don't know.
I mean, entrepreneurship is such a steep roller coaster of, terror and then excitement, enhanced by lack of sleep. And it's a weird experience in many ways. I feel so blessed to be on this journey. And I feel enormously privileged to have, had these, for having these experiences. And ultimately it comes down to the people. If you love the people on the journey, it's such a joy and such a privilege.
Was there a point when you did feel this is going to work? Was there a specific moment when you thought, yeah, okay, we're going to be okay. This is going to work now?
I get this question all the time, and it's really hard to pinpoint down these moments. I think we hired a few people that are still in the business that have done between 6 and 10 years. And every time we hired these people, I genuinely, after a couple of months, felt like my life is getting so much better. I see the results and what they're achieving. These people are amazing. Everything is kind of shifting. And these moments kind of foreshadowed success the most. So really, really proud of the people on this journey. All comes down to them.
As the company has grown and as you've been looking for larger and larger scales of investment, does that change how you do the strategy to make those pitches? Do you write individual pitches for different people, or is it the same thing for everyone? Everybody gets the same power slides.
So I would argue that two things. One, we have really professionalized investor relations. We brought in somebody who's done it for 5-6 years at Gousto now. He deserves a ton of credit. Barnaby, our CFO, has done a ton of pitching with me. And so we have a very experienced kind of team and a very kind of rigid process, very, very like data driven. We meet lots of funds for chemistry fit. We don't waste too much time on funds. And so that side has improved. Then on a personal level, I don't prepare for pitches. I meet people. I tell my story. The team kindly puts together a couple of slides, and they're fairly like standardized. And I look for fit. How do investors think about the world? What's their value add? Are they truly thinking in 10-year terms? What painful experience that they have in their portfolio that points towards learning and reflection? How will they act once they're on board? And so I think you can only mess up your shareholder base and your board once. It's a very painful experience, I'm sure. And so far, I've been so glad. Our shareholders have been the biggest asset. They've been huge cheerleaders. We've got people like Joe Wiggs invested into Gousto. And so really, really grateful to them.
Yeah, Joe Wiggs is a recent investor, isn't he? What's it like to get that kind of celebrity status alongside the company?
Yeah, we had like a couple, in the early days. Andy Peters came to the office when we were like 20, 30 people. He invested early. I mean, he made a huge return. We had a couple of very high profile CEOs from the US running like the biggest companies in the US. And so we had a few people where it felt quite special. And I was really proud sharing the news with the team. And I think, again, it's testimony to their hard work. Joe is particularly awesome. He is the nation's PE teacher. He was a customer. He then messaged me saying, hey, why don't we meet up at some point? I love what you're doing. I love the purpose of feeding families across the UK. He came to the office. We became friends. We started a commercial partnership. Joe Wiggs is on the menu every week. So, have some of his recipes every week. They're awesome. And then at some point he said, look, I've never invested into a startup, but could I give you some money? And I don't think he's ever regretted it. I mean, he smashed it through Gousto. And so he's very happy. We're really happy. He's such a great person. And it's really rare to meet people like him who's so committed, so driven, and so like values and purpose obsessed as we are.
I guess it's one thing getting the money, Timo. The next thing is how do you spend it? Now, you've just had a really big funding round at the start of this year. Where's that investment going into? What's happening to Gousto now?
Yeah, so, we've grown massively in the last couple of years. Pre-pandemic, we were growing at 75% per year for an average of 5 years. So massive, massive growth. Since 2020, the team has jumped from 400 people to almost 2,000 people now. We moved away from one factory to now a couple of factories across the UK, highly, highly automated factories that are data-driven, AI-driven. We are building the software. And so a huge amount of money has gone into technology, AI, automated capabilities to feed the UK. And our mission really is simple. It's, to build amazing products that have positive impact on people and the planet. And so despite all the economic challenges we're seeing in the UK, I'm so proud. We just increased the menu size to now 75 recipes on the menu every single week, twice what the competitors have. We kept prices the same for a very, very long time. We've now, for the first time in 18 months, actioned a small price increase, but way, way, way below kind of what inflation levels are, thereby making it even cheaper or less expensive for people to buy Gousto. And so our mission is really make the product better. And then we generate this flywheel. Customers love it. They refer it to their friends. They retain better, and we can invest more. That's kind of the simple philosophy.
Right, let's take a break. I'm going to check out a Joe Wiggs recipe. And do you know what's quicker to do than a chicken and king prawn Thai green curry? 15 minutes, by the way. Rate and review this podcast. You'll even have time to give us a follow. One thing that's also changed since you founded the company is the number of people working in that market now. You have considerably more rivals than you did when you first started. I guess the question is, how do you stay ahead? I mean, how do you innovate in cooking effectively, which has been, centuries old market, centuries old traditions? How do you stay ahead of your opposition?
I mean, funny story. In 2013, we had a really well-funded competitor And we were located in Acton, in a very cheap kind of neighborhood in London, where office space isn't expensive. And all of a sudden that competitor was looking down on us physically by having their office 4 levels above us. And it was hugely daunting. And back then in 2013, we counted 15 competitors, and I think 14 of them have shut down since then. And I think what we learned over time is that the barriers to entry are small, but the barriers to scale are enormous. And if you actually look at market share, we have a really good market share. We're very large. We've got massive scale. Not many companies have achieved any market share or any scale in this area. So I think it looks a bit busier than it actually is. And hey, the secret sauce is give customers what they love. Like if price point, lead time, convenience, sustainability, health, if you can make everything better by an order of magnitude for customers, our share of stomach today is 0.2%. Why can it not be 1%, 1.5%? If we could get to 1% of all evening meals in the UK, that would grow the business again by 5x. And that's massive. And it feels pretty achievable to me. And so we're just humbly kind of working towards what customers want.
When do you think you might hit that? Is there a set date? Is there a goal for 1%?
No, I'm just using that as an example. That's not, a goal in itself. But it's just, this market is massive. I think what we're doing is embryonic. I think it's day one. We've got such an amazing team. We now have 50% of people in the office working on technology and AI. And so we're building capabilities that are far bigger than what you see today. And so the future is quite bright.
Yeah, there's a lot of sophistication behind what is a cardboard box with some food in it, isn't it? You're talking about AI. How are you working with AI and data and what sort of things are those bringing to you?
There's so many applications. To give you a couple of examples, our personalization engine, the chefs are real magicians. I love what they do every week. It's so tasty. But they've created 6,000 recipes. And no human could ever figure out which 75 recipes go on the menu every week. And so we needed to build a software that takes into account heat, seasonality, sustainability, and puts everything onto a menu that customers love. They buy again. It has the lowest CO2 emissions and so on. So there's so many ways to dimensionalize what goes onto a menu. Only AI could kind of figure it out. And so that's a big case. How we route boxes in our factories, where we put ingredients. Do we have tomatoes at 50 stations, 150, 10? I mean, no clue. It's humanly impossible. And so we needed to build a lot of supply chain AI, menu AI, but also churn prediction, resurrection campaigns, marketing. We probably have 15 use cases for AI and deep learning and smart technology at Gousto. And so we built these kind of capabilities over time. Today, we actually have a licensing business selling that technology to other companies across the world. And it's day zero for that business. That business is called Bento. It has the smartest people working in it ever. But since we have built a technology, why not empower other companies to have the same technology whilst reducing engineering waste to close to zero, as we've done with food waste?
Yeah, it's great diversification of the company. Did you ever think that you'd be heading up? I guess you're heading up a software company now.
It's absolutely weird. I think I do. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think at some point it dawned up on me.
You're a tech leader like Elon Musk. So
it's very kind.
No, that's
and not, yeah, despite on what spectrum. But yeah.
What we talked a lot about what Gousto's do, but let's talk about that actual product itself, because that's the basics of the success, isn't it? You have to get that right. How long did it take you to kind of get all the little dimensions of it right, to source the food, to sort out the poster? How did how did that work?
So, I mean, in the early days, this was me writing recipes myself, going to the market, and then hand delivering to customers, giving customers my personal phone number so that they called me until 1 a.m. at night. And it was crazy. And obviously,
have you changed that number yet, Timo?
I have. Um, good fun though. But I mean, like today, you know, we have such a great team focusing on these areas and being so excellent. You know, somewhere between 10 years ago and you know, maybe 5 years ago, I think this product really became good, maybe great, and fitting into like people's lives and really having profound impact on families across the UK. I think it's still not exceptional. It could be exceptional. We're really humble. We know what the issues are. We got to focus and work really hard. But it needs to be mind-blowingly amazing to get to 1%, 1.5, 2% of share of stomach. And that's kind of the mission. And so, you know, as a customer, you should expect so much positive change to come while CO2 emissions go down and down and down.
You're looking at things like CO2 emissions. I think you have 100% recyclable boxes now, don't you? And how is the food
close to it? Yeah.
Yeah. How is the food itself sourced? Are you thinking about global footprints? Do you pay a bit more in order to be a bit more environmentally friendly?
Yes. I mean, in a nutshell, yes. Look, every single time you eat Gousto, 23% of CO2 emissions are taken out of the system versus the equivalent supermarket shop. You know, we had Bristol University did an independent study. It got verified by a think tank. So we're really proud of that. But we see it as kind of the floor, not the ceiling of our ambition. You know, the question is, how do we take CO2 emissions out everywhere? We look at scope 1, 2, and 3. I mean, not to get into too much detail, but 1 and 2 is kind of, you know, the office, people, and scope 3, you know, deliveries, food. So the really hard stuff. It's easy like to get to net neutral for 1, maybe 2, but 3 is the hard stuff. And so we're working with farmers, with the supply chain. If we, for example, fund an electric tractor for farmer Barbara in Lincolnshire, you know, like the CO2 emissions in the supply chain will decrease for the next 10, 20 years. And that's amazing. Whereas if you just offset, you kind of get addicted to paying £1 and you don't really know if that tree is actually standing there for 100 years and so on. So we're really focusing on decarbonization, taking carbon out of the supply chain everywhere in a very data-driven way, you know, put the smartest people onto the toughest problem. And so I'm proud of the positive impact we're having, but it needs to be even better and better and better so that all companies get to 1.5 degrees global warming, ideally less. Not everyone will participate, so we have to achieve a lot less actually. But that's the ambition.
Am I right in saying you have B Corp status now? Or have I
Yes, we are B Corp. Again, I see it as a nice kind of accreditation, but it's the floor, not the ceiling again. And, you know, it's part of what we did already. So why not put the stamp on it?
Like you were talking earlier about how, you know, you used to go down to the markets and it used to be your recipes. How hands-on can you be in your position now? Do you still do a little bit of that, or do you miss that at all?
I mean, I personally think my recipes were amazing, but I'm told they're all blacklisted. I believe it's due to supply chain issues, but well, you know. No, I love these times, but I'm also glad, you know, where we are today. I'm feeling so privileged. We're running an exceptional organization, close to 2,000 people. I'm so proud of the people. They are so much better at what they do than what I could ever achieve in their functions. And, you know, the chefs, the people sourcing the food, the people handling the food in the factories, shipping the food. Wow. I mean, huge respect to them.
Do you still have the original recipes anywhere yourself?
Of course.
Do you? Do you keep them?
Of course. There are recipes 1 to 50 in the database of the 6,000.
Correct. And just finally, what's next for Gousto then? What are the big plans? What's the next 10-year plan?
More value to customers. You know, if we can be exceptional around price, taste, quality, you know, lead time, convenience, sustainability, health. It's so simple. If we can give customers value across all these dimensions, then we'll get bigger and bigger and bigger and succeed. And so in a nutshell, that's the secret plan for the next 10 years. You know, we may or may not internationalize on the way. Expect more data, technology, AI to come your way if you want to use Gousto's technology in any way possible. Bento is an amazing kind of success story. But yeah, no, really proud where we are and so proud of the team for the opportunity that lies ahead in the next 10 years.
That was Timo Boldt from Gousto. For the best business news, interviews and analysis, go to standard.co.uk/business or pick up the Evening Standard newspaper. How to Be a CEO is back first thing every Monday morning. Why not start your week with us?